For a bit of context, I already had a rocky relationship with my family, particularly my mother, 63 years old, and this sister. So my sister, let's call her Rose, married this guy, Jeff, several years ago. A couple of years ago, Rose started receiving messages from a burner Instagram account saying her husband was cheating on her. She brushed it off for a long time, thinking it was just some troll, and carried on with her life, happily married. Then, several months ago, I got a phone call from my mother where she began the conversation with, "How long have you known about Jeff's affair?" After I denied any knowledge, she explained that Jeff had told Rose about his affair and that the woman was threatening to ruin his marriage. The woman claimed that she and I were really close friends and I knew everything about their affair and could ruin my sister's life with the intel I had fed her. She alleged that she knew me because I was blackmailing one of her friends, and she was one of the people warning me off, but somehow this has turned into a friendship where I tell her all my sister's secrets. As my mother was clearly going to ring my sister straight after her call with me, it's her usual form, I explained I knew nothing about it, and if I had, I would have told Rose in an instant. Then I carried on with my day, but remained stressed about it. I was updated in drips and drabs by my mother for the next few days, and finally received a text from Rose saying that there was some stuff being said about me and that I needed to sort it out. Then she blocked my number and deleted me from everything. So, at the end of my workday, I rang her to straighten things out, and she began the conversation by saying that she was my big sister, and no matter what I've done, she'll never judge me and will always be there for me, which was sweet but entirely misguided. So, I explained the same to her as I did to my mother. She seemed to accept my explanation, and I told her that if she needed anything, she could come to me, but I would give her time to sort her marriage out if she'd prefer. I haven't heard from her since. Since then, apart from a brief period of contact when my stepdad was in the hospital and a couple of texts updating me on big family things, i.e. deaths, etc., I haven't had any contact with my mother either. Last night, I got a phone call from Jeff while at a friend's birthday party. He asked if I was going to my mother's for Christmas. I said no, and he actually dared to ask me why. I explained that I was at a friend's, so I didn't want to get into it right then. But there were a myriad of reasons that he was aware of. He then said he'd call me today, and hasn't. While I don't feel guilty for not going home for Christmas, I know my family will try to make me feel bad. So, basically, yeah. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The only person responsible for the affair is the person having the affair. It doesn't matter if you knew, didn't know, threatened, or whatever. The husband is the one who decided to cross the line and engage in a relationship with someone else. Comment 2. Not the idiot, I think. Are you not going home because Rose and Jeff will be there and you want to avoid a confrontation? Or are you not going because you made other plans? Or is there another reason for not going? Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild few days, and I've got some updates for you. So, after Jeff's call, I was pretty annoyed. I mean, the nerve of him to ask about Christmas after everything that's happened. But things took a turn the next day. My phone buzzed, and it was Rose. I was shocked, because, remember, she had blocked me on everything. My heart was racing as I answered. "Hey," she said, her voice shaky. "Can we talk?" Turns out, Rose had been doing some thinking. She told me that after our last conversation, she started to doubt the whole story about me being involved in Jeff's affair. She had been reflecting on our childhood, how we used to stick together no matter what, and it didn't add up. I felt a mix of relief and frustration. Why had it taken her so long to see the truth? We agreed to meet up the next day at our old hangout spot, the park where we used to play as kids. It was a cold day, but the sun was out, and it felt right to clear the air there. As I waited for her, I thought about our past. Rose had always been the protective one, looking out for me when our parents were too busy arguing with each other. And here I was, needing her to believe in me again. She arrived, and we sat on the bench, just like old times. She apologized for not believing me sooner. I could see the regret in her eyes. She explained that Jeff had confessed to everything. The burner account, the affair, the lies about me being involved. He had been trying to cover his tracks by throwing me under the bus. I was floored. I mean, I knew the guy was a cheater, but to drag me into it? That was low. Rose and I talked for hours, reconnecting and rebuilding our bond. She told me she was leaving Jeff, that she couldn't be with someone who had so little respect for her and her family. I supported her decision. It was tough, but she was strong, and I was proud of her for standing up for herself. The next day, I got a call from my mother. I braced myself for another round of accusations, but instead, she was crying. She said she was sorry for not believing me, that she had been fooled by Jeff's lies. She asked if I would come over to talk. I was hesitant, but I agreed. Our relationship had been strained for years, but maybe this was a chance to mend things. When I got to her house, it was like stepping into the past. The same pictures on the walls, the same smell of her cooking. We sat at the kitchen table, and she told me about how she had confronted Jeff after Rose left him. She had demanded the truth, and he had finally come clean about everything. My mother was a tough woman, but she had been blinded by her desire for Rose to have a perfect marriage. She admitted that she had been wrong about me and asked for forgiveness. It was a lot to take in. I had been angry with her for so long, but seeing her so vulnerable, I couldn't hold on to that anger. We hugged, and it felt like a weight had been lifted. The next few days were a blur of family meetings and long conversations. Rose moved back in with our mother while she figured out her next steps. I helped her pack up her things from the house she shared with Jeff. It was tough, seeing her go through the memories, but she was determined to move on. And then, just when I thought things were settling down, Jeff showed up. He had the audacity to come to our mother's house, begging Rose to take him back. He was met with the door slammed in his face. Rose stood there, shaking but resolute. Our mother wrapped an arm around her, and I couldn't have been prouder of both of them. In the end, Rose decided to go back to school to pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. She had put it off for Jeff, but now she was taking control of her life again. Our mother was supporting her, and I was helping out however I could. As for me, I realized that family was more important than I had given it credit for. We had our issues, sure, but when push came to shove, we stuck together. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And Jeff, well, he tried calling a few more times, but we were done with him. Rose was moving on, and so were we. Husband books Christmas trip without me, so I cancel his flight. He's furious, but then he sees the nursery. Oh boy, he's got a surprise coming. My husband is Jewish, and I am a culturally Christian atheist. Went to Catholic school, grew up celebrating Christmas, and still celebrate with family and friends. A few weeks ago, I mentioned I was getting 2 extra days off from work during the holiday, and that I thought we should use the time to start preparing the nursery. I'm 5 months pregnant, and the room needs some work. Furniture and the guest bed removed, sickeningly bright green walls repainted, and the carpet deep cleaned. At the time, he agreed. Well, it turns out that not only did he not take any additional time off himself, he has weeks and weeks of unused vacation. He has made plans to spend Christmas with his Jewish parents. They apparently invited him since he didn't get to visit on his dad's birthday or Hanukkah because of infection 19 in their household. I just found all this out today when I said we should start the nursery on Christmas Day, since we usually visit my family on Christmas Eve, and I'll be busy on Saturday doing last-minute shopping and wrapping. I'm floored. My husband chose to disregard our plans and spend the holiday with people who do not celebrate it, rather than with his wife, who does. And he wasn't planning to tell me about it. I already knew he struggles to ever say no or set boundaries with his overbearing parents, who could have easily scheduled time on Friday or Saturday before Xmas Eve or next week to gather. But this seems so beyond anything I would have expected from him. I'm starting to feel like we're not even married anymore. He didn't consult me on his plans for Christmas. He's leaving me alone that day and the next to deal with the nursery on my own. I've had to nag him every other week for the last 2 months to start checking out local daycares, since I'm swamped at work, and his workload is relatively light. He finally got info from one daycare. I've nagged him for the last 2 months to look into life insurance in consideration of the baby, but he hasn't. I'm starting to feel like I might as well be alone. He's sheepishly tried to apologize, but I won't speak to him, and I'm genuinely wondering if this relationship is coming to an end. Our anniversary was a few months ago, and the day before he realized he double-booked himself and cancelled our dinner to go to his grandmother's birthday dinner. He never rescheduled anything for us. Am I overreacting? Am I the idiot for not being open to an apology that doesn't involve cancelling plans with his parents? Which I know he will not. Edit, because it's been mentioned a few times. Husband's parents do not have their own Christmas Day tradition. We have been together several years, and he has not historically visited them. They are making up for missing Hanukkah, which they could have asked to do on several days other than Christmas. Update: husband saw post. I didn't know he followed me. He has been extremely regretful and apologetic. Obviously, not fully resolved, but I'm not wondering if am I the idiot anymore. He basically took full responsibility for everything here. Thanks for the perspectives, and thanks for inadvertently helping give my husband a wake-up call. Again, not fully resolved, but you basically did the first step for me. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. OP. If he wanted to be with you on Christmas, he would be. If setting up the nursery was important to him, he would do it. Ask friends and neighbours if they have older teenage children or children home for winter break from college who want to earn money by setting up the nursery. This way, you get to pick the colours, furniture, theme, etc. Also, paint the walls before cleaning the carpet. If he says he wants to do the work, then that's fine. Don't shut him out. Welcome his involvement. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your husband decided to bail on his pregnant wife for 2 days and didn't even plan on telling her. Did he think you wouldn't notice? That it was Christmas makes it worse. That you're an atheist doesn't matter, since for many people, including yourself, it's understood to be a secular holiday, much like Thanksgiving. Time to give this marriage a serious rethink. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a hectic week, and I've got some updates for you. After my husband saw my post, he was really sorry about everything. He said he didn't realize how much his actions were hurting me. We had a long talk, and he promised to make things right. He even started to help with the nursery, which was a big relief. But then, things took a turn. I found out that he had been texting his mom behind my back, complaining about me. He said I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that I was being too sensitive. I couldn't believe it. I thought we were on the same page, but he was just telling me what I wanted to hear. I was so upset, I called my best friend to vent. She's known me since we were kids, and she's always been there for me. She told me that I deserved better, and that I shouldn't let him walk all over me. She reminded me of the time in high school when I stood up to a bully who was picking on my little brother. I had always been the type to stand up for what's right, and she said this was no different. So I decided to confront my husband. I asked him why he was saying those things to his mom. He was caught off guard and tried to brush it off, but I wasn't having it. I told him that if he couldn't be honest with me, then we had a serious problem. He finally broke down and admitted that he was scared. He said he didn't know how to be a dad and that he was worried about messing up. He was using his parents as a way to escape from his fears. I was shocked. I had no idea he was feeling this way. He had always been the confident one in our relationship, the one who seemed to have everything under control. We talked for hours, and he opened up about his insecurities. He told me about how his dad was always tough on him, expecting him to be perfect. He was afraid of being the same kind of parent. I told him that we were in this together and that we would figure it out as a team. After that, things started to get better. He cancelled his plans with his parents and spent Christmas with me. We worked on the nursery together, and it was actually kind of fun. We laughed and joked around, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were really connected. But the best part was when his parents called on Christmas Day. They were upset that he wasn't coming over, but he stood up to them. He told them that he needed to be with his wife and that we had our own family to think about now. I was so proud of him. It was like he was finally putting our little family first. And then, A few days later, he surprised me with a belated anniversary dinner. He had planned the whole thing, and it was perfect. He even got my favorite dessert from the bakery across town, the one that always has a line out the door. But the real justice came when his mom called to apologize. She said she didn't realize how much pressure she was putting on him, and that she was sorry for causing trouble between us. It was a small thing, but it meant a lot. It felt like we were finally being seen as our own family, separate from his parents. Sister's wedding ruined by deadbeat dad, so she unloads years of hurt. His face when she reveals the baby isn't his. I'm 27-year-old female, the middle child. I have an older sister, Lana, 32-year-old female, and a younger sister, Asha, 25-year-old female. When Lana was 7 years old, our deadbeat father walked out of our lives. Lana is the only one who remembers him from back then. And before he left, he was totally, utterly cruel to her, saying she was disgusting, a mistake, saying he wanted her to die, saying she should be punished for what his mom did to him. All because Lana looked like our deadbeat father's mom. Mom actually had to get the police to stop our deadbeat father. Then he abandoned us, dodged child support by quitting his job and basically making it look like he had no money, and then disappearing and making sure he could not be found. We struggled financially. Mom did her best. She was amazing, but Lana was exceptional. She did more than any kid should do. She even filled in as a dad sometimes. Both Asha and I went to father-daughter dances with Lana filling in since Mom had to work. 2 years ago, Asha decided she wanted to track our deadbeat father down. It was something she wanted all three of us involved in. Lana declined and told Asha she would have nothing to do with our deadbeat father. I told Asha I was not interested in finding someone I didn't remember and who went to such great lengths to abandon us both physically and financially. She found him and started up a relationship. It has strained the relationship between her and Lana because Lana refuses to be around him. Asha got married a few weeks ago. She asked Lana and me to be her joint maids of honor. Then she announced she invited our deadbeat father. Lana wanted to pull out and not attend the wedding at all. She said she could not be around him. Asha begged her to come and told her she could ignore him and act like he was invisible, and she would do her best to keep him away from her. So Lana agreed. Our deadbeat father gave Asha away and was so close to Lana and me as we walked down the aisle. Then Asha tried to get photos taken of all of us together, and he stood close to Lana and tried talking to her. He followed her around. Mom and I both tried to make him stop, but he wouldn't. Lana ended up snapping a couple of times during the wedding. Asha was upset about that. But it was later when she saw some proofs of her wedding photos last week and saw Lana was angry in most of them and saw how clear it was she was disgusted that our deadbeat father was so close to her. She was so pissed at Lana for ruining her wedding and told her she ruined the photos too by making it so clear she was unhappy. Asha tried talking to me about her anger, and I made it clear I was on Lana's side. I told her it was so wrong to be angry when she made all these promises and knew how our deadbeat father treated Lana. I told her she was selfish to hold all this against her when our deadbeat father refused to leave Lana alone. Asha told me Lana said she had hoped our deadbeat father would die and wanted to know if I still felt she, Asha, was selfish. I said yes. She told me I should be more understanding because her wedding has lost some of its joy because of Lana. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm also the middle child of 3. My older sister just got married, and I have been no contact with my mother for 2.5 years. My sisters are still in contact with her, but understand why I'm not. You know how this issue got solved? We talked about it a year in advance. What I was not comfortable with. And you know what happened? Mother and I are on opposite sides of the group for pictures. My little sister always took the spot next to my mother when needed, so I wouldn't have to. And I barely spoke with my mother. Nothing was forced on me. The kicker? Up until the last 2-ish years, my older sister hadn't been close at all, and she still respected my feelings. That's how you treat a sibling. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Lana is such a hero. Asha pestered Lana to be at the wedding in the first place, then had the audacity to whinge that she wasn't smiling enough. Mystery solved. Forced to be in proximity with an hurtful deadbeat father would make anyone miserable. It baffles me how Asha could knowingly want a relationship with a deadbeat and then force him on all of you who have suffered due to him. Asha is a traitor to the family. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my sisters and our deadbeat father at Asha's wedding. It's been a chaotic 3 days, and I've got to tell you, things took some unexpected turns. After the whole wedding photo fiasco, things were tense between Asha and Lana. Asha was still fuming about the photos, and Lana was doing her best to avoid any interaction with our father. I was caught in the middle, trying to support both my sisters, but also feeling like Asha was being unfair to Lana. 2 days ago, Asha came over to my place, unannounced, with a box of the wedding photos. She was still upset, but this time, she was more calm. She wanted to talk about what happened and how we could move forward as a family. I reminded her of the times when we were kids, how Lana would step up and take care of us when Mom was working late. How she'd been the one to make sure we had something resembling a normal childhood. Asha nodded, remembering those days, and I could see she was starting to see things from Lana's perspective. Later that day, Lana called me. She was upset because our father had tried to reach out to her again, this time through a letter. He was apologizing for everything, saying he had changed. Lana was torn. Part of her wanted to rip the letter to shreds, but another part of her was curious if he really had changed. I reminded her of the strength she'd shown all these years, and that whatever decision she made, I'd be there for her. Yesterday, Lana decided to meet our father. She wanted closure, to tell him face to face how his actions had affected her life. I went with her for support. It was a tense meeting. Lana confronted him with everything he had done, how his words had haunted her. Our father listened, tears in his eyes, and when Lana was done, he just said he was sorry, that he truly regretted what he had done. Lana didn't forgive him, but she told him she was done letting his past actions control her life. Today, Asha, Lana, and I met up for coffee. Asha apologized to Lana for not considering her feelings more and for pressuring her during the wedding. Lana accepted her apology, and they hugged it out. It was a moment I'll never forget, seeing my sisters reconcile. Asha then surprised us by saying she had talked to the photographer and had some of the wedding photos edited, removing our father from the ones where Lana looked uncomfortable. She showed us the new photos, and Lana actually smiled. It was the first time in a long time I'd seen her genuinely happy about something related to our father. As we left the coffee shop, Lana told us she felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Asha was relieved too, happy that she could look back on her wedding day with joy again. And me? I was just glad to have my sisters back on good terms. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.